Buckle up for AEC Trailblazers, the Founders Files, where we crack open the stories of the brightest minds in the AEC startup scene. Forget institutional pitches. We're diving deep into the real personal journeys of these industry disruptors. Get ready for some casual chats firsthand.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the AEC Trailblazers podcast, where we interview the most amazing founders of the AEC. Today with us, we have Alastair Blankin. He's the CEO and founder of ProcurePro, a fast-scaling construction tech company on a mission to save 1 billion hours of construction admin. That's huge. He's a former lawyer turned entrepreneur. Alastair brings a rare mix of legal rigor, commercial insight, and product obsession to the built world. Under his leadership, ProcurePro has powered over 3,000 projects worth 70 billion, transforming subcontractor procurement into a faster, smarter, and fully digital process. Now, the market leader in Australia and with clients across the UK and Ireland, ProcurePro is expanding globally, setting a new standard for operational excellence in construction. Alastair, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Valentin.
Did I miss something from your bio?
No. Used to be a lawyer, a reformed lawyer. Was there for a couple of years, or about 5 minutes, and decided there's better ways to do things, and built another tech company before we pivoted it into ProcurePro when COVID changed the world and killed the first business.
You're a lawyer in rehab.
Yeah, and like to sink the boot into my former kin, like plenty of other ex-lawyers.
Interesting. And how you ended up in the UK? I mean, you're from Australia. Did you founded ProcurePro and then decided to move to the UK, or you're just in the UK for the moment doing this beautiful podcast?
No, we founded the business in Australia. ProcurePro does procurement software. It's sort of an area of construction that hasn't been digitized before. It's sort of a combination of a lot of different spreadsheets, Word documents, and sort of people can think of procurement as just bidding or tendering, and there's probably a whole lot more to it than that. So we saw this opportunity, founded the business in Australia, grew it really well, and on the way there, sort of then thinking about where's our next expansion market. The UK made a lot of logical sense in terms of some of the similarities in the business world, in terms of the construction process. So that's where I've been for the last 12 or so months, but we've got our eyes on other markets as well, hopefully about to sign our first US and Middle Eastern customers this month.
All right. If you ever come to the US, you're welcome to visit us in Miami for sure.
Absolutely.
Just curious, before we get into topic, how's the Australian market right now in terms of construction?
Yeah, it's an interesting market. I think overall it's probably pretty stable compared to, there's been a turbulent few years. Australia's interesting in terms of it's got quite a high cost of labor, high standard of living as well. And so it's been one of the early adopters of construction tech, driven by that cost of labor. That's why you've seen a lot of good construction tech companies kind of come out of there. So there's some interesting market dynamics that play out. But overall, I think the sentiment is pretty positive in Australia at the moment. There has been sort of government pullback on some major infrastructure projects in the last couple of years, but also that's probably about to gear up again in my hometown, Brisbane, where I'm from. It's got the Olympics in 2032. So it's all kind of the natural challenges that are going on in many parts of the world in terms of, ability, capacity, skills, labor to deliver are really some of the big challenges in Australia, but also globally.
Interesting. Yeah, no, what you said, it's absolutely right. Like Australia is one of I think it's the country that if you divide the population or the size of the construction market by its AC startups, it is the one with the best ratio in the world, like even better than the US. It's just crazy the amount of construction startups considering the size of the market, right? It's just
Yeah, and
really good.
I mean, it was Aconex sort of back in the day. For those who don't know, it's sort of the Australian version of Procore, docs, drawing, project management, who was sort of growing at the same time, got acquired by Oracle. They were sort of the real trailblazers, and the founders have been kind enough to invest in us. And then Hammer Tech in safety, PayApps, who just got acquired by Autodesk in payments. And then there's sort of a raft of other construction tech companies, following their footsteps, ourselves included, and plenty who are delivering, really quality products and growing quickly.
That's amazing. Like having someone who created such a big product as Aconex that like Procore is really big in the US, but in the rest of the world, Aconex is huge. So how is it to have like an investor? Like do you get the chance to get a lot of data and they help you, or it's just about investment? Like I'm just curious because typically most AC startups end up having, or VCs, or just any type of investor, and most of the times don't have a chance to actually get someone who is a big personality from the industry who has done a big exit to found them.
Yeah, so we've got so the Aconex founders, Rob and Lee, but then one of the right hand man was a guy called Paul Parrott, who's their chief operating officer. So Paul sits on our board. So we've sort of got the venture, we're venture backed. So Airtree is Australia's premier venture capital fund, is backed the likes of Canva and a bunch of other unicorns. So that's kind of one side of our board, and then on the other is that real contact operational experience, which is invaluable to have someone like Paul, in the trenches with you.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I'm also curious. I know you're a former lawyer, but how do you ended up coming with the idea of ProcurePro? Like, how you ended up deciding, like, this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah, so I mean, I was a lawyer and I was doing this. So I was doing property development, so very sort of closely related industry, obviously, to construction. And I was doing very large capital transactions, buy and sell, or then this high volume leasing. So retail, shopping centers, commercial towers. And it was sort of a semi-ironic. Most lawyers, they want to do the, large litigations or things that are really complex, and you want to go away from the, high volume property contracting, very like rinse repeat, quite boring stuff. And so I actually found that quite, interesting because of the way that you can leverage tech. So I was in this, law practice, which is probably at the bleeding edge of basically document automation for, property contracts. And I sort of, being a young fella with plenty of opinions, thought, hey, I can do this way better. So I quit my job on a bit of a whim to go into a startup accelerator to think, hey, I can build a highly verticalized contract management platform specifically for commercial landlords. I mean, I was working with big institutional landlords listed on the public markets. We can build something really sort of specific and tailored to that industry. And so built a really good product that worked, had some success with it, had some ups and downs, and learned sort of all about the startup world. And then we relaunched the product with a couple of customers, I'd say a month before COVID hit. And then COVID killed that business very quickly. Anyone who owned property and had tenants not wanting to pay rent didn't care about business improvement software. And then what that did was it gave us sort of free swing opportunity to actually have a look at other opportunities, which we already had been for probably 6 months prior. So a very good mate of mine spent a decade in construction, and I was talking to him, the year before, going, hey, how might this work for construction in terms of builders doing their subcontractor procurement? And sort of when COVID hit, that was the perfect storm that, killed our business. We had a team together. We'd been building product for 3 years, brought my mate home from overseas who was having a year off, and sort of gave us, hey, should we, have a look at this? And what started as a couple of days, couple of months, then became a full-blown pivot. And fortunately enough, we've taken, learning from the first 3 years, basically learning to start up and put that, to, the pivot, or really the second time around, which is why thankfully some of the graphs go up and to the right.
Cool. That's a great story, and it's a fortunate pivot, right? That you made in the right time. Some folks don't get that lucky. uh, so that's pretty cool. And who were your first customers? Like you ended up started working with mostly general contractors or main contractors, large main contractors, smaller main contractors. How was the approach? Because you get a product, right? And that step, it's really hard, right? To get the first customer or to approach someone and be successful on selling this to them. Like, who were your first customers on the early days?
I might just before answering that, Valentin, just explain like a little bit more around ProcurePro and what it does to give that context. So we sort of we service the general contractor, and the way that they're procuring typically subcontractors, but also supply agreements and all that sort of 20 odd different spreadsheets and Word documents. So there's plenty of bid software out there. In Australia, there's Estimate One at the pre-award stage. There's Procore Aconex at the post-award, post-head contract stage. Obviously in the US, there's, Building Connected, plenty others, right? So there's sort of this notion of tendering that exists already, but then when you actually go to, procure in Australia or the UK and buy out in the US, you start to see this process where you've got a tracking spreadsheet to work out, where things are up to. You might go back out to bid and to get more prices in. You've got to compare them, get apples for apples, put it through an internal sign-off process, get it to a contract. And kind of the big problems around that is there's a lot of different disconnected processes, but there's also just a lack of visibility sort of through the whole process. I think one USGC sort of phrased it really well. It's sort of you don't know where things are up to, and it's the risk in there that you're going to lose your shorts on. So that was kind of the original problem that we set out to solve. And I suppose the early days of bringing it to market was, having a few slides going, here's what we think we can build, showing that around to Roberts Co. was our very first customer, who's owned by Andrew Roberts, the former multiplex owner, and put together a new company. So they're very forward thinking at the time. The CEO, Alison Myrams, backed us off the spreadsheet, as well as then where my co-founder used to work at Hutchinson Builders, and then some of the more progressive and innovative, builders were forward thinking on tech. So Capital Group, again, ex-multiplex folks, but very progressive in terms of technology. Early adopters sort of been looking to solve this problem, couldn't find, had done a big search, couldn't find how to solve it, and then we sort of came knocking, going, hey, this is what we think we can build. And they, talking to a few other companies around the same opportunity, but said, hey, let's give these guys a crack. And then probably the last one of the early customers was 2Construct, who was an early adopter for hammer tech for payouts for a lot of the Aussie construction tech. And we got introduced by payups to one of the directors, who said, again, like what you're doing, get it, willing to take a punt, back you guys. And they were the first customers live. And I think within 2 months of going live, they'd scaled up from 2 projects to sort of 15 odd projects really, really quickly. So gave us a methodology on actually how to implement this thing in a really pain-free way as well.
It sounds like it was an obvious pain that nobody was solving.
Obvious in some senses, but
yeah,
like also people, it's a market education piece as well. Like you call people up and they go, no, we've got estimating software. No, we've got bidding software. No, we don't need whatever you're selling, like all those hard yards. And then when you go, hey, is this what your process looks like? Yes, it is. Okay. They go, okay, this is good, but is it a must have? Is it a nice to have? Do I have budget for this? No, I don't have a line item. So there really is that market education piece, and actually almost unpacking how much of a pain this problem is. And fortunately, we've sort of broken the camel's back in Australia, and the market's gravitated. We're used by about probably 45% of the market by my judgment now. But then you have to kind of square one in the UK, educating the market on there's better ways to procure. So
that's you bring a great point about if it is a must have, is a should have, is a nice to have, and maybe let's pretend I'm an architect, but let's pretend I don't come from the industry, and we all know what bidding is. And what are the advantages of having a formal tool and not processes? I have an Excel spreadsheet and I'm doing this fine. Tell me, Alastair, what what are the benefits or what are the risks on keep doing it with an Excel spreadsheet like I'm doing it?
So I've got this part of our presentation where we sort of show, here's the old way, slides you process, here's the new way, here's what we can do for it. And this is the way I phrase this is it's basically how to make every commercial director, commercial manager, who's our key sort of buying persona, just nod. So we go, here's the process. It's a messy, tangleless spreadsheet, and really it's two core problems. It's highly manual because it's all fragmented processes, a lot of copying and pasting, same data, one spreadsheet to the next. And then it's basically impossible to get visibility because you don't know where things are up to unless you physically pick up the phone, send an email, or tap someone on the shoulder. Does that resonate? But even before you say, does that resonate, their head is nodding. Like, it resonates for everyone because it's those, like, talk to the customer in their language of like, this is actually what I'm living right now. If I want to know where something is up to, I have to go and call someone. I have to email them. Do I trust the information that they're giving me, or are they covering their tracks? So that visibility piece, that's the 10x value. And that's actually quite a good one to solve because you can actually get visibility really, really quickly, when you implement a connected system.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just curious, how does this relate with supply chain?
Yeah, so procurement and supply chain are inherently related, and there's plenty of general contractors out there who sort of almost put these RFPs out for, I want a supply chain database. I want to know all my subcontractors, and they want that perfect record of, they might be able to tag, slice, dice, find ones in certain areas. How are their performance ratings? Is their compliance up to date? Lots of different things and requirements like that. Financial viability, it goes on, right? And then procurement is actually the process of buying those subcontracts. Now, the thing is, some people see that they're inherently related, others don't necessarily. But you can't actually solve supply chain unless you solve procurement, because the act of procuring powers the supply chain database. So we've got this great example that we've learned through the journey of ProcurePro, that everyone wants to know where their subcontractors are working or where they're actually bidding as well, because you want to assess capacity risk on one hand, and you also want to assess bulk purchase opportunities. Can I aggregate demand? Now, the thing is, you don't get that answer in a financial system because that's only got the subcontractor who you award the package. You probably don't get that answer from a tender or a bid platform, because does everyone submit back through the platform, or do they email the estimators, the project teams? So you have imperfect data. The actual source of truth for where are people interacting with our organization is that Excel comparison spreadsheet of, doing the analysis of, I'm comparing subcontractor A, B, C, D, E, and this is what their prices are. If you can pull out, which we do, the information from that spreadsheet on around who's actually pricing us, all of a sudden you get this portfolio visibility that you can go, hey, this subcontractor, they're pricing 4 jobs for us at the moment. And what the key to this is, it's not just the, people up the top of the organization with that visibility directing traffic because they don't have enough time in the day. It actually allows the project teams to go, hey, I actually see this subcontractor who I'm about to engage is talking to 2 other project teams. I might go and talk to them because that's a capacity risk or it's an opportunity. And I can make myself look better if we, drive a bigger discount. So it's to kind of sum that up. It's the act of procuring and buying out these packages that actually powers the supply chain database and the insights that you want. Otherwise, it's just manual updates, to a system which never happens.
Oh, absolutely. And also I feel that one of the major problems is that even if you have the data, let's say you have the best Excel spreadsheet out there, and all your subs send you all the data in time, which it never happens if you don't have a centralized way of doing that. But let's say you accomplish that, even the analysis of all that data takes a lot of time. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Like, it's a reality, and you can either make mistakes or it's going to take you a lot of time. And I do feel that like by processing all that data using, for example, I don't know, AI, it can save you a lot of time. It's not that it's just magic, but it's just saving you a lot of time on the data points that you will have to manually, analyze them. I don't know if you guys are doing something like that, or
Yeah, like there's a bunch of ways that we're using AI, but even on that point around kind of going, information sitting in adjacent spreadsheets or systems, like there's a huge thing around deciding what subcontractors are going to deliver your job. People have ratings systems, so performance ratings. Do we want to rate on quality, commercial, health, safety, so on and so forth? And what they'll often do is they'll create a rating system off to the side, but then doesn't even get used? Do people go and look at it when they're busy? They got so many things to do in their day. So it's kind of, you put that information in front of them, okay, they actually look at it. Or maybe they don't, or maybe there's 50 or 100 ratings. And so like one of our AI use cases is, if you got 100 ratings in a system, you actually want to basically have AI summarize them and put some tags on, hey, here are the key risks. They've had defects on multiple occasions, or they've been heavy on the variations and change, which might cost us, down the track. So that's kind of some examples, but there's plenty more when you kind of systemize things. Some real power in AI at the moment is the ability to extract information and connect the dots from, multiple layers deep. So whether it's these subcontractors are working across, different projects, or they're about to finish up a job that might provide another opportunity to give them continuity of work, or something that we're ideally going to be releasing sort of back end of this year is around this notion of pricing intelligence. I'm pricing a particular package or down to the line item level, and I've been on a long project before. I haven't procured this package in a couple of years. I've got 2 or 3 quotes back that I'm looking at, but how do I even know if they're market? Well, I want to be able to kind of search within all of the information sitting, within our organization across projects. Hey, can I find out where this line item, whether it's a rate, whether it's just a particular item actually has been bought before in our organization? So AI is a tool, but the problem it solves is really access to information and speed of decision making.
True. No, absolutely. And AI doesn't matter how much AI you have if the data is not right.
Yes and no, right? Like there's this narrative of get all your around AI, get all your data in one place, and then you can have AI. But then it's almost like when you go and kind of break that down a bit, it's kind of like, what's the use case? The thing that's really cool and exciting at the moment is actually, yes, of course we all want our data in like nice clean systems, but also AI's ability to process less structured and less perfect data is incredibly powerful.
True, but I think my point is that the data needs to be right. If there are mistakes in your data, like if I don't know, an amount is double than it should be, like AI is going to work with what they have. Maybe it can discover errors, but and it can fill the gaps. Absolutely, it can fill the gaps sometimes. But if there are mistakes or the data is broken, like there's a limit to it.
We talk about that in the notion of this pricing library, right? So in a perfect world, you want the silver bullet to say what's a cubic concrete cost. But in the real world, hey, that, the data feeding into that was a couple of years old. So we might want to discount stuff because the market's moved, or it was for projects in these particular sectors or these particular regions, and that sort of influences price. So for us, that sort of technology isn't necessarily about getting all the way to the answer. Because it's not a silver bullet, but it's about kind of going, hey, can we surface information more easily so someone can still apply, their construction experience and their intelligence and go, hey, you know what? That is way off kilter, and I actually want to just have a conversation with the subcontractor. Or another example, hey, this particular line item, you priced the same thing 3 months ago and prices increased 30%. Why is that? And you might have just found some extra margin, right? So it's not necessarily about getting all the way to the answer or replacing the human element, in obviously building things.
It's just enhancing, I guess, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It's just about that. And then changing gears a little bit, related to what type of companies can get a benefit out of this. Like I am a company that may be too small for this or too big for it.
Yeah. Overall, I'd say product fit really starts, and people start to feel the pain when they're managing multiple projects, and when they have probably around 20 staff. We do have companies using, ProcurePro that are smaller than that, but that's kind of really where the pain starts to be felt. So once you get to, your 2 or 3 projects, maybe you can run that in your head out of your phone. But beyond that, that's where you start to need management systems, not just from a procurement perspective, but generally. And so that's the nature of where we see that pain kick in, and obviously, the want for a solution like ourselves.
And can you give me, no need to give me like numbers of clients or anything like that, but like what's the benefit in terms of a percentage? I don't know if you can tell me how much, like what numbers or KPIs you can tell me of benefits before implementing a system like ProcurePro and after.
Yeah, so we've broken down procurement, sort of every task, every step. We do it in an ROI calculator when you need to help obviously get customers to understand, the size of the problem and get comfortable with the investment that they're making. Generally speaking, yeah, taking about 40 to 60 hours to procure a single package. And then we got plenty of customers who'll say they're procuring about 50% faster. So we kind of break that down line by line. That's on a single package, right? And you might be doing 30, 40, 50 per project. You might be doing 20 projects. And if you're paying someone, 50, 70, 80 bucks an hour, you can start to see, how how much time there is. There's thousands of hours being spent doing, this process. And obviously then there's not just the hours and the cost of that, but there's the risk that's associated. So we've been in business for about 5 years. And we have a lot of conversations with general contractors around kind of the nature of their problems. And we sort of basically through all of our conversations boiled it down to what we call the 12 problems of procurement, which is all around basically visibility, manual process, connectivity, supply chain insights, scope of works gaps, contracts not being signed, the happiness of your staff. I've missed a few out, but it's kind of almost and we have it as a slide when we talk to people, we say, which of these 12 problems resonate the most? And I'd say probably every second time people say all of the above. So
interesting. Well, you know your clients very well, and I think that's something important that a lot of like early stage founders have. You going back to what you said about the early days on interviewing people even before developing the features or the products. It's something that I feel it's key, because then when you try to sell all the companies a product, it's based absolutely and completely on feedback from potential clients, and not just something you think it's the problem. And I don't know, I've seen so many startups, and I come from the industry, that I myself sometimes even make the mistake. Like, I know the industry, I know this is going to be successful because I know the industry. And I think that's so stupid, because in the end, you don't know your client until you show them exactly what you're trying to build, and then saying like, yeah, absolutely, yes.
Well, I mean, for our business, one of the things that we've like to think that we've done well is just that level of focus that we've had sort of through the whole journey. We solve procurement for general contractors of 20 staff to a couple of thousand staff, in particular regions. So it's kind of going, we know what problem we solve, we know who we're doing it for. And the good thing about that, from internally, is everyone's pointing in the same direction, not just on who you're trying to service, but also from a customer perspective on the roadmap that we're delivering. So contrary to the approach of a lot of software companies, more generally, we are very, very open with our roadmap delivery timeframes with the industry, with customers. Like we do, customer conferences and showcase what's coming up, and thankfully everyone's generally speaking pointing in a pretty similar direction, which is a good position to be in. But again, one of the things that we've been able to do quite well is not stalling out once you get to a certain size, and really keep delivering this at pace. I think the industry has certain pretty high expectations in terms of what products can do, and it's obviously a fast-paced industry, and not a whole heap of patience when stuff doesn't work. So you need to be, as a contact founder, keeping to be able to deliver not just on your promises, but basically really pushing forward how much you can bring to the industry.
No, absolutely, I agree. And I'm also curious on, we've spoken so much of what you guys are doing, but what's coming? Like, what do you think ProcurePro is going to look? Not going to say 10 or 20 years, because who knows where the world is going to be in 10 or 20 years. But what about 5 years or 3 years? What's coming?
Overall, less from a what we do right now perspective, but we're on a mission as a business to save 1 billion hours in construction administration. So, from an overall purpose perspective, we want to have the impact on the world in the industry that we're serving, and we know we've got an ability to do that. So, where will we be in 5 years? Having much greater reach of what we've built, solving problems for a particular customer, and having that positive impact on the world and the industry. So, in terms of what ProcurePro looks like, we're starting down the pathway to multi-product, but we do have that very focused section within construction around basically focusing on the procurement, the commercial aspects of construction. So it's not, hey, let's get distracted and go and build a document control system or a finance system. It's having that real level of focus and quality in what we're delivering. So it's not just about, we've got a tender platform and everyone else has got a tender platform. That's not really a competitive advantage. We think of that as, okay, what's the 5th, 6th, 7th order of feature depth and scenarios that you can solve or nice usability that you can bring, as well as then taking a step back from all of that around like what we're building right now and going, where are the biggest opportunities to have impact. So it's a bit of a framework that we sort of look at in terms of going, hey, where's the AI opportunities in particular around going, well, there's lots of noise out there in the world at the moment and there's a lot of confusion as well. So yes, of course, you can go and put all your data in the lake and ask it any question ever, but we sort of look at the framework of 3, basically circles. So if you think of a Venn diagram, the first bit is frequency. How often is someone doing a job? The second one is impact. What's the level of impact that job's having? So is it a little bit of an administration versus is it something price and scope related that could move the needle on margin? Then how do we put whatever we build in someone's workflow so that they actually use it, not I have to go and search or go out of my way off the side to do something. So that's kind of our paradigm of looking particularly like around AI opportunities because we've created this unique data set that hasn't been created before. We've got access to. There's a whole lot of opportunities that live within that can have real impact. So the kind of the top 3 on that we're delivering right at the moment is connecting estimating and project delivery teams, pricing intelligence that we spoke about, and then automating the comparison process around getting quotes in different formats.
Okay, that's a interesting future. So many things coming.
Lots of
exciting times. Yeah, lots of problems to solve and many new markets, right? Like you said that you're also starting to get your first clients in the US and clients in the Middle East, and those are huge markets. So I bet you're going to have a lot of work in the coming years.
Yeah, always more to do and need more people to join us on the journey to bring what we've built to a much broader audience.
Absolutely. I know you're a busy guy, so I don't want to take more of your time, but before we wrap this up, are you okay if I ask you a couple of ping-pong questions?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Can you tell me what do you think is the next big thing in the AC?
Yeah, I'll be a little bit biased, but there's a company called VisiBuild, another good Australian company that's doing a really good job solving quality. So there's plenty of companies out there doing quality management, but they're going to a real great level of depth that the industry hasn't seen before. So well worth a look for anyone listening.
Interesting. VisiBuild, right?
VisiBuild, VISI build.
Interesting. I will give it a look for sure. Never heard of them. The next one, if you could collaborate with any person in history, which person would you choose?
I don't know this one.
Take your time. No rush.
So just on this one, and you cut this part of the recording. Do you mean project?
Yeah. We typically
construction project or like just any project?
Any project. It could be someone like going from I don't know Jesus Christ to Steve Jobs or like the founder of Iconex, like you're doing right now. So it could be anyone from any industry.
Collaborating with any person. I'm a massive Jason Lemkin fan. So the founder of SaaSta, the big SaaS conference, who founded EchoSign before that, a DocuSign competitor. I listen to heaps of his stuff around building tech companies, and got a lot of respect basically for the way he shares knowledge so publicly. So I'd love to. I'm a huge advocate for knowledge sharing more generally. That was probably part of the fire in my belly that fueled going into the tech world, is like how to do things smarter, share knowledge, and improve process. So I love what Jason Lumpkin does and would love to work with him at some point.
Cool. And last but not least, given the fact this is a AC podcast, what's your favorite building in the world, and have you ever visited?
I think the Sydney Opera House is pretty special. So being an Australian, it's iconic, and it's pretty evocative imagery on a global stage, and I like how different it is, and how it's representative, of my home country globally. So
you're a little bit biased on that answer, but I can give you that. Like I've been there, and it's just insane, like the design and everything, and when it was made, like. It looks like a building that was made yesterday, right?
Although I'm pretty interested to see some of the stuff coming out of the Middle East, Saudi in particular, over the next few years. So hopefully get on a few more planes in that direction.
Absolutely, like that building that they're trying to build. I think it's like 1 or 2 kilometers tall. The one that is supposed to be the tallest in the world. I think it's 2 times the tallest one, the Burj Khalifa. So if they accomplish that, for sure it's just gonna be insane.
Yeah, or even if they accomplish half of it, like it's
yeah. We don't need to get that ambitious. Like even 10% or 20% more than Burj Khalifa, it's huge. So. But anyway, thanks so much for your time, Alastair. It was great to learn about your background and ProcurePro. And before we say goodbye to each other, can you tell everybody where they can know more about ProcurePro or about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So ProcurePro.co, not .com. Can see more on our website. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me, mention you listen to this, the pod would be great. And my name's spelled a little bit funny as well, ALA. Most people get wrong, so ALASTAIR.
Thanks for that. Thanks for all your time, and I hope to learn more and see more about ProcurePro in the future.
Thanks for having me, Valentin.
All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks to our listeners. If you like this content, you can find past and upcoming episodes in ascworks.everse.com and at all of our Everse social media. We'd love to hear from you and recommendations for new content, so leave us a DM and we'll make sure to catch it.